Hey guys, it's Drew again. Well, it's been a week since I was at the National, and I figured it's about time I finally talk about my thoughts, my feelings, my experiences and memories, and of course, the pickup. So let's check it out. So when I arrived home on Sunday night from the National, it had been a whirlwind trip. I posted a quick video a few days ago, just little clips and pictures I had taken. Jake from Legends Never Die and I drove up there. We met up with Scott. We went to a game in Cleveland and just had a great time and let the festivities begin. And it was great. There were so many things that I was expecting to happen that actually happened and came true. And there was things I just never dreamed that would happen that just made the memories more rich and everything. But everyone talks about the National experience and what it was like and the pros and the cons and this and that. But to be honest, I think the biggest con is it's just not enough time. Not enough time to watch all the tables or see all the cards or memorabilia. Not that there's not enough time to see every single booth, and there's not enough time to talk to people. I met so many people, so many great guys on YouTube, so many guys that are just watchers and just participate in this hobby that we come together. We all collect in this little bubble, and I got to experience what it was like outside of that bubble, face to face, not just through a camera, talking about my channel or anything. So my experience at the National was, well, it was phenomenal. I mean, it was absolutely phenomenal. And I wish I could have recorded every moment to watch over and over and over again. And for those guys who do that, to film tables and all these interactions, these great videos that pumped out, that was my intention. And the truth is, I didn't film hardly anything. I have very few photos of anything. It just never dawned on me when you're in the moment to be able to pull out my camera and say, hey, I want to film this, or I want to take a picture, or hey, let's get a selfie, or whatever. I didn't do that, and I regret that. I really, really wish I did. If I go again some point, that's the thing I want to change the most. But you guys came to see, what was it like? Well, for those of you who didn't go, I know you're hating. I mean, there has been thousands of videos that have dropped in the last week and a half, and I get it. It's kind of old. It's tiring. I've been there every single year, waiting, the FOMO, wanting to be there. I'm tired of hearing about it. Not everything's about the National. I understand that. But for those of you who do experience or have, there's so much excitement. The reason there's so many videos and so much talking about it is because it's such a big deal to be able to do this, and I'm so thankful that I was able to go. So here's the thing is, let's talk about the people I met. I met so many YouTubers and great stuff. So Jake and I drove up there and we went and hung out at Scott's house for a little bit. And we got to go to a game that night. The next morning, Scott went to the airport. This was Wednesday morning to pick up Dylan from Double D Cards and Rick from Vintage Oddball. They had an early flight in, an overnight flight, and Jake and I went with them and surprised them at the airport, 6:30 in the morning. Man, they were so excited. I was excited, and man, it was like let the festivities begin. It was so much fun. The talk on the way back and just hanging out. And Dylan and I have talked off and on line before, on the phone a little bit, texting and stuff. But Rick and I, not so much. We know each other's channels and comment here and there. But you know what? Rick was he was such a great guy. He was so genuine. He was so interested in what I had to look forward to, and he had been through it before, and we just had a great time talking and getting to know each other. And Rick's a very important part. In fact, these two men are very different in the way they collect, the way they are, their personalities, and they actually serve a purpose in a story that I'm going to tell about the card that I picked up at the show. So anyway, this was on Wednesday, we end up getting to the show, and everybody's excited and they're jacked up. And I want to mention something. When I was in the lobby, where it was before the doors opened up, and we were waiting for the doors to open, and someone came up and it's like, Drew, and I turned around and I had no idea who he was, and he was a friend of the channel, just someone who viewed it, and he said, Drew, I just wanted to come meet you. And I was like, this is so weird but kind of cool too. And he said, I want to buy some of those stands. And if you don't know, I made these little wooden card stands, and it's kind of neat for me. I see these things on all these guys' videos, and I'm so glad that for those of you who got them and used them, I'm glad they work. I'm glad you enjoy them. But there's these little stands, these little pieces of wood that I put together and designed. These serve a huge huge part of my entire experience at the National. So we'll get back into that. But anyway, so this guy comes up and he says, I want to buy a set of stands. I was like, sure. So we start talking. What are you looking for? And he already knew what I wanted. And so he told me about his plan and this and that. And the doors open up and he and I walk in together. We just start meandering. And he's like, well, I had this list of cards that I wanted to get this year. And I was actually able to achieve all of them except for one card, and that's the one I'm looking for. And literally, as he says that, we're standing by about the second table in. This is like, you walk in, and he says, well, kind of like that one. And he points down in the case, and he goes, can I see that card? And the dealer picks it out, so I kind of step back, and he ends up making the deal. He went to the National to find this one specific card, and he found it at like the second table, like within 3 minutes of the door opening up. And it was so cool. I don't know him, and he only knows me through my channel. But I mean, we were high-fiving and congratulating, and it was just that feeling of camaraderie, of brotherhood, to be able to get this card that he wanted so bad. So we're talking. And I was nervous, because if you guys watched the video a couple videos ago, the big card that I wanted was the 1949 Leaf Ted Williams. And I had been saving, like literally saving. And truthfully is, if I was able to get this card, this would be by far the most money I've ever spent on any collectible, card or not. And I had saved, seriously, for 2.5 years. I have not bought a card, saving for a big card. About 6 months ago, I'm like, this is the card. This is the one I was going for. So I was like nervous. Can I find the card? Can I find it the grade I want within my budget? This and that. And this guy that I was talking with, he said, you know what? I found that when it comes to cards, just let the cards come to you. Just soak it all in, absorb the moment that you're in, and just let the cards come to you. And they always do. And I was like, okay, like I don't need to be anxious. There's a million cards in this room. I want to go find one. So anyway, he and I wandering off, and the other thing is we had met up with other people, and we're kind of sharing. This is other YouTubers, and talking about want lists and this and that. Well, not too long after this, I get a text from Sammy Thunder, who was one of the four of us. So it was Sammy and Dom from Stephen Sports Cards, myself and Jake Legends Never Die. We were kind of the little 4-pack that we're in the same hotel and we traveled around together, whatever. And Sammy sends me a text and he said, Drew, are you looking for this card? Well, this was not the Williams. This was like, if I sell enough stands, I have walking around money, and there's a card that I dreamed that I never could get. And he found it. And I'm like, where are you? He tells me the table. I make my way over there, and I'd love to say that the Ted Williams is the first card I bought, but it wasn't. I had my money set up. This was my budget that I had for the Ted Williams, and I had already previously sold some of these wooden card stands, so I had some money already. And anything beyond the Williams was going to be card stand money. And anyway, so I go over, and I can't believe it. I flip through this guy's pile. I said, can I see these? Stack through them. And the very first card that I bought at the National, and I'm going chronologically here, okay, was not the Ted Williams, okay? What I did was I actually completed my Playing Days run of my favorite player to collect, pretty much. It's hard to say because I love them all, but I was able to get the 1954 Stallmeyer Carl Erskine. I never thought I would get this card, and I love this card. I love the yellow on it. I love the image of Erskine, the smile on his face, the Dodger uniform, the Brooklyn cap. The back is just absolutely beautiful with the blue and the red. It's too bad that they chose that team in the middle, but other than that, I love this card. This card was stand money. This was money that I made from selling these little things, and this is what I worked so hard in designing and building and trying to figure out what would work, was to be able to get a product that people would like, to be able to buy it so I could buy something I never could dream of. And I was able to find the Stallmeyer Carl Erskine, and I am absolutely over the moon thrilled to own this card. Well, after that, I was just like, who cares, and I still had the Ted Williams to look for or whatever. And so what I did was I ended up asking the same dealer, because he had tons of great vintage. I said, do you have any, the Leaf Williams? And not even in his case. He had stacks of cards back at the table. He picks up a stack of cards and he says, what grade are you looking for? And I'm like, lowest grade possible, because I knew that's where I could afford. So this is the card that he gave me, and I looked it over, and you can see the price tag on it, and to be honest, that was over my budget. So he asked $1,200 on it, and it's a great card, a little off-centered, but I was like, you know what, can you do any better on it? And he said $1,100, and I said, it's still over my budget, and he said, I'm sorry, that's the best I can do. And I was like, oh, all right. I said, do you care if I take a picture of it so I can think about it? He said, absolutely not. So I took a picture, and then I had it, and now I'm chewing on this thing, and I'm thinking about it. I don't know. I didn't want to go over my budget, and I had already spent money on the Erskine, and I really didn't have much more money anyway. You know, I had the what I had saved, and that was it. So as I'm walking around, I'm bumping into guys, and I'm bumping into YouTubers, and literally I met the two people I've already mentioned. I met Dylan and I met Rick at the same time, and I show them the picture. Guys, what do you think of this? This is over my budget, but whatever. And it was kind of funny, and I'm not putting either of these guys down because they were being honest and genuine in their point of view. I had Dylan on his shoulders, like, Drew, man, that's your card. You got to buy it. You came here. It's a beautiful looking example. Da 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 da. And I was like, oh man, he's getting me jacked and excited. And Rick is literally like kind of whispering. He's like, Drew, pass on it. If you're not feeling it, if it's over your budget, the card will be here for you somewhere. And I remembered talking to the viewer earlier where he said, let the card come to you. And I was like, okay. But it was like the devil, the angel on my shoulder, whispering different things. I was like, okay, well, I had time. I knew that. So I'm walking around, and I end up going to another table, and I see another Ted Williams, and I said, can I look at it? And I'm looking at it, and I could tell it was within the budget, but I didn't, the condition on it had like the you know, the overprint ink on the front, and I really didn't want that at all. So I was like, well, okay, I appreciate it. I'm looking at his case. I'm like, and I hear Rick two tables down. He's like, Drew, come here. And I go over, and they have a Ted Williams in the case. He said, Drew, look at this card. And I looked at it, and I was like, oh, wow, you know. And so, you know, we asked, can we get it out? And I pull it out, and I look at it, and again, it's over my budget. In fact, it was more than the $1,200 than the guy had asked on the other one. So I'm thinking, well, that's a beautiful card, but there's no way. Although it was nicer than the one that I had already looked at. But anyway, so we're waiting, and we're looking at it, and the dealer could see me and Rick going back and forth, and Rick's like, Drew, this is your card, this is it. And I was like, Rick, you don't understand. I don't say this, but in my mind, I'm like, I don't have the money for this card. Like, I just don't. And I said, well, you know, how much could you do? And the dude took off so much money on the first shot. He went right to my budget, to the penny of what I had to be able to pay for this. And I was like, no way. And so, as you guys probably already know, I made the deal. If you were there, you probably saw this card because I passed this thing around. But I'm gonna look now. It is graded, but I'm gonna cover the grade because I want you to look at the card. I'm a raw collector, so I don't care about the grade. But I want you to look at what I was able to pick up within an hour. I was expecting something with rounded corners. What was important to me was the focus on him, and I didn't want a lot of snowing in the red. I liked the redder background much more than the orange version, but this card is absolutely perfectly sharp. Look at that thing. And I could not believe I was able to find this card for the exact penny to my max budget on this thing. And you're probably thinking, like a lot of people, oh yeah, well, the back. Well, let me show you the back, because the back is not all dogged up. It's totally readable. There's a little line on the front where there's a little print roller. But other than that, I mean, it is almost inconceivable what is, quote, wrong with the card, which, by the way, I heard that statement every time I showed it. They would look at that, they'd say, beautiful card, flip it over, and everybody would say, what's wrong with it? And I thought, what's wrong with you? Not really. But you know, the point is that I don't get cards like this. I don't get cards that look that sharp. I don't buy cards in this price range. And I was absolutely thrilled, absolutely floored that I was able to find this card, find it in the condition I did, and find it right within the budget. And if you're asking, well, what is the grade? Because I collect the grade, not the card. And if that's you, this is graded a 1. And I'm not going to tell you why it's a 1 because I don't really care. But the point to me is I was able to get my absolute dream card that I had been saving for 2.5 years, and I got it way better than I had ever thought I could ever get, and in condition, and I got it for the price that I wanted to. So first of all, I want to thank Rick. I want to thank Dylan, and I want to thank my special friend that I met, whose name's Corey, and he came up, and I had such a good time. In fact, later in the show, he ended up picking up a bigger card for him, and he called me right after I got this Ted Williams, and he said, Drew, where are you? I want to show you something else I got. And so I took a picture was taken with me and him. here we are together holding up our prize cards from that show. And so, Corey, thank you so much for all your help. And it was really a pleasure to get to know you. For Rick and for Dylan, it was absolutely a thrill. I have so many other stories. I have so many other things that I got. I picked up a total of 6 cards. So you've already seen 2 of them. You've seen the Erskine and you've seen the Williams. But I just want you to know, just as a little teaser as I release stuff, these little card stands, I didn't sell every one that I had, but I sold enough to be able to walk around like I wanted to and pick up other cards. And I didn't get every card that was on my wish list, but I had to pivot. And when I pivoted, I got a card that I didn't know I really, really wanted until it became available to me. And now that I have it, I can't believe I own it. But that is a story for another day. Anyway, if you went to the National and met me, I am so glad to have met you. I appreciate all the friends, the conversations, the talk, the fist bumps, the high fives, the just sharing life and everything else. I've got lots more videos to come out about the National. I don't want to drag this out, but as a storyteller, it's way too much for me to share all in one video. So until next time, you guys be good.